weeks ago and a few days. Went on the first walk this week. Gotta love the call in there. Gotta love the intro. Getting right into the markets here. We get the S&Ps. Talk about a volatile day, up 11 points at 3840 right now. We got the NASDAQ 100 charging higher, up 194 points, 13,025. We're approaching almost 400 points off the lows we had last night. The Dow in negative territory right now, lagging a bit, off about 0.75%. You got the Dow off 237 points, trading at 31,138. We had a 32,000 print just in the last about 36 hours ago. Midnight between Wednesday and Thursday, we're pretty far off from that level, almost 1,000 points. And we get the Russell up about 15 points right now at 2215. You're a solid 55 points off the lows we made last night in the Russell. Commodities, we got some action to the downside in commodities today in a big way. We got crude pairing some of the recent gains. We're off almost $2 at 61.59. We got the gold contract trading down $50 at 17.27. You were as low as 17.14, the price of gold. You back things up on a daily in the price of gold. You got to go all the way back to basically June of last year to get that price tag. I mean, quite the acceleration to the downside. We were just trading at a price tag January of this year at 1962. Gold down substantially from that level. A tough week for gold this week as well. Silver off $1.19 right now, 26.49. You see the divergence between the silver and the gold contract, right? Gold had us all the way back to June or July. That would put silver in the realm of about $19, give or take, in terms of where gold was at that price point. Silver hanging tough, relatively near the highs, especially when you compare it to what gold is doing. Silver at 26.49. Excuse me, we jump to notes and bonds. Now, that is a graph for you. You want to talk about an acceleration just over the last 15 days. Okay, now how many trading days is that? We're talking about 3, 6, 9, 11 trading days. You've seen the 10-year trade down from 137.02. We got a 131 handle yesterday. You just don't see that type of action in a big way, and that's correlating to a yield now at 1.45%, the 10-year. On that spike low, we got as high as 1.61. Crazy action in the note and bond market. The 30-year with quite an acceleration as well. You're talking about we were up at 183.06. That's the August high for price in the 30-year, and we reached 156. You were approaching 30 points in the 30-year over a period from just August. Crazy actions. You got the 30-year right now yielding almost 2.2%. Now, the divergence between what is happening, and I'll just pull over what I'm looking at, even over at CNBC in terms of the yields, right? The 30-year is down almost 13 basis points. You got the 10-year down about 7 basis points. You got the 5-year down 3, the 2-year down about 2, as those curves and where they fall. All right, jumping around to what we have going on today in the market. We're just going to jump into some of the stocks really moving. We're going to start it off with Etsy. Etsy, quite the year they have had. ETSY, up 11.8% today. This market, now we hit a low of $30, we'll call it, $29.95, the lows of March, during the lows of COVID. You put this thing on a 15-minute for the action today. They come out with their earnings last night. You charge higher to about the 220 price point. You open and reach 232. We're up almost 12% on Etsy. Their numbers coming out, and strong numbers, folks. How about earnings of $1.08 a share versus 59 cents? How about revenue beating by more than $100 million over the period of 90 days? And how about soaring profits and 129% revenue growth, way ahead? I mean, they came in with big numbers on revenue, but check out the next quarter for Etsy. Now, a lot of companies, right, are dealing with decelerating growth. They might be growing, but they're not growing at the same rate, especially an online company, that they did during whether it was the March COVID restrictions, right, whether it was the lockdowns that happened last year. You had so many companies, their e-commerce sales accelerating through the roof. I mean, you had Walmart, for instance, come out with their numbers in the last couple of weeks. I think they grew e-commerce sales at almost 70%, and the market penalized them because it was a deceleration of their e-commerce sales. Well, not quite the case with Etsy. They're going to be expecting revenue in the current quarter. Now, it is different, all right? It's a deceleration, but check out the beat. The current quarter, they're looking for revenue between $513 and $536 million. The market was only looking for $383 million. So they are blowing away expectations even right now. That company might be in a sweet spot of where they're growing. The stock, not sure you're in a sweet spot for buying because it might all be priced in. When you trade from $30 up to 239.47. I mean, we almost bumped right up against that all-time high today. We reached 232.29, a rocket ship to the upside in a big way, and you got volume in a big way as well today. You're talking about 8.9 million shares right now, the volume on this bar as we trade higher on Etsy earnings. All right, and as we're speaking, this market's continuing to push the upside here. I'm just going to jump back to the S&Ps real briefly. The 15-minute, 38.41. We're at a critical level here in the S&Ps. You don't have to be quite the statistician when you look at where we are. We've bumped up to these levels on a few occasions. We were there right at the open and we sold off. We were there also at about 3:30 in the afternoon and sold off, and we jumped just above that level. The intraday highs at about 12:15. That high, 38.58. Be interesting to see. 45 minutes left to go in the trading week. Do traders want to be long over the weekend? We're going to find out. And this is the last trading day for February. We come back on Monday, and we're talking about March 1st. Maybe we'll get some fun buying in there. Talked about quite a bit, but it's a dicey week. I mean, the NASDAQ's down about 5.5% coming into today. One of the worst weeks it's had since March. All right, jumping around to what else we have. Doordash out with their numbers. Man, talk about a company that's been growing, but all of that priced in and maybe not living up to the expectations. Look at this turnaround, though. You spiked down to 144 last night. Doordash now climbing back to be positive for the day. You're up 1.9%, trading at 170.07, positive by about $3. Their numbers last night, fourth quarter earnings after the bell, beat analyst estimates for revenue, but includes a large net loss. In the first release as a public company, always a dicey scenario for one of these first public companies coming out with their first earnings. Etsy just going public and started trading on December 9th. You see the type of volatility that this company's had. You go down to 135 just January 4th. You spike up to 256 on January 27th, and then talk about pairing some of the gains. We were just up at a price of 226. We're now trading at 170.16, under, actually, really the close of the first day of trading, December 9th. That's always something that investors keep on their radar. All right, folks, stay tuned. When we come back after the break, we'll go over what other equities we have moving today. We're going to take a look at Salesforce as well. And then we're going to be talking to our man Dave White coming up live at 3:30 for the technology segment. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.